Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we're diving into one of the biggest, most exciting shifts in the React world, React Server Components. This is a game-changing technology that promises to fix a problem we've all felt, whether we're building the web or just browsing it.
So, let's just start with the big question, the one we've all muttered under our breath. With all of our amazing, modern tools, why do so many websites and apps just feel slow? You know the feeling, right? You click something and you're just staring at a loading spinner or a blank white screen. What is actually going on?
Well, the answer 9 times out of 10 points to one big thing. We can call it the JavaScript problem. And honestly, it's kind of the elephant in the room for modern web development.
And here it is. The main reason things feel slow is the massive amount of JavaScript code we're forcing browsers to download, process, and then run. Every little interactive bell and whistle, all the logic for fetching data, it all gets packed into these huge files that can absolutely crush performance, especially if you're on a phone or a spotty connection.
But what if we could just not do that? What if we could change the whole model? And that's exactly where this new approach comes in, RSC, which stands for React Server Components. The whole philosophy really can be boiled down to this one powerful idea. This is the mantra of RSC. Do more on the server and ship less to the client. So instead of making the user's phone or laptop do all the heavy lifting, we do the work on our powerful servers and only send the absolute minimum to the browser.
And the results are, well, they're staggering. We are not talking about a tiny 5% improvement here. By taking this server-first approach, apps are seeing a 70, 80, even 90% drop in the amount of JavaScript they send to the user. That's not just an optimization. That is a genuine game changer.
Okay, so let's be super clear on what this is. RSC is a totally new way of rendering. It fundamentally changes where your code runs and what actually ends up in your app's final bundle. And this is really important. This is not just a new version of server-side rendering. It's not SSR 2.0. SSR sends static HTML that the browser has to hydrate and make interactive later. RSC is different. It streams a rich, interactive blueprint of your UI that needs way less client-side code to work. It's a whole new paradigm.
So how does it all work? Well, the magic behind RSC is this new split, this distinction between two kinds of components, server components and client components. And getting this difference is the key to understanding everything else. So with this new model, our app is split in two. First, you have server components. These are the new default. They run only on the server, meaning they can do cool stuff like talk directly to a database or access secret API keys. And the best part? They ship zero, and I mean zero JavaScript to the browser. Then on the other side, you have client components. These are the interactive bits we're all used to. They run in the browser, they use state, and they handle things like button clicks.
And this leads us to the one golden rule of RSC. Seriously, if you remember one thing from all this, let it be this. If a component doesn't need to be interactive, if it doesn't have any state or click handlers, it should be a server component. It's really that simple.
So just think about all the parts of your app that just shows stuff. Fetching data for a product list, rendering the main layout of your page, showing a table of information, or even hitting an API. All of these are perfect for server components because they don't need any client-side JavaScript to do their job.
And on the flip side, you use client components for anything a user can actually touch and interact with. So forms that need state, buttons that do something when you click them, pop-up modals, smooth animations, all that stuff needs JavaScript in the browser to work. You only opt in to a client component when you absolutely need that interactivity.
All right, let's talk about one of the biggest wins here, because this new model totally revolutionizes how we handle data, and that leads to some absolutely incredible speed improvements.
The new way to fetch data is just so much simpler. You can now literally use async and await right inside your components on the server. That's it. No more use effect hooks for fetching, no more complicated client-side data libraries, no more manually handling loading and error states. You just ask for the data on the server, and it's there before the component even renders.
And the benefits are just huge. For one, you get rid of those nasty client-side request waterfalls, where one piece of data has to finish loading before the next one could even start. By fetching on the server, it can all happen at once, which is way faster. This means you often don't even need loading spinners anymore. Plus, because the content is rendered on the server, it's great for SEO. And the newer frameworks give you all this smart caching and data deduplication for free.
Okay, let's really picture the user's experience here. In a traditional app, when you request a page, the server has to get everything ready. And while it's doing all that work, what does the user see? Nothing, just a blank white page.
So they have to sit there, waiting and waiting, until the whole page with all of its data is finally ready. Only then does anything actually show up on their screen. But with RSC and streaming, this is totally different. The server immediately sends down the basic skeleton of the page, the layout, the header, etc. Then, as the heavier pieces with data finish loading, they get streamed to the browser and just pop right into place. The user sees content almost instantly, which creates this amazing feeling of speed, even if parts of the page are still loading in the background.
So how do we actually start building this way? Well, it takes a little bit of a shift in how we think about our apps. We have to start embracing what you could call the RSC mindset.
And a huge part of that mindset is just knowing what not to do. A classic mistake is to panic and just slap Use Client at the top of a whole page. But that pretty much cancels out all the benefits. The real goal is to be surgical. You want to push that Use Client directive as far down the component tree as you can, right to the small, interactive leaf components that actually need it. So it all comes together in these 5 key principles. 1. Think server first. Always assume a component can live on the server unless you prove otherwise. 2. Ship minimal JavaScript. Be absolutely ruthless about what you send to the browser. 3. Create interactive islands. Isolate your interactivity into small client components instead of wrapping whole sections. 4. Fetch data on the server. Keep your data fetching close to your database, not in the user's browser. And 5. Stream the UI. Use streaming to give users that amazing feeling of instant feedback.
When you put all of this together, what you get is an architecture that finally delivers on the promise of the modern web. It's how you build apps that feel instant, that can scale, and that solve that big JavaScript problem we started with by moving the work off the user's device and back to the server where it belongs.
And that really leaves us with one last thought to chew on. For years, we've been trying to make our JavaScript bundles smaller and faster. But what if the real answer, the secret to the fastest web app possible, is to build one that ships almost no JavaScript at all? Thanks for joining me.